Howdy gamers, Keith Hershey here. Today, I'm going to talk about how to run a convention game. So, I'm currently helping to organize our second annual SLV RPG Con for Alamosa, Colorado, coming up June 13th and 14th in year 2026, if you're seeing this in the future. And a common question that keeps coming up is there are some brand new players out there. They've never run at a convention. It's intimidating because they know they only have a set amount of time to run a game. And some of these newer game masters have been running published adventures or campaigns, not necessarily one shots, which now that I look back, in the years past, I know one shots used to be pretty prominent and campaigns not so much. So, in a way, it's kind of nice to see that balance kind of shifting, that there's a lot more campaign driven DMs out there. But that brings to mind that a lot of the new DMs coming out are not sure how to take an adventure module that they want to run and run it in a 3 or 4 hour session for a convention and how to pull it off successfully. And that's what this video is about. So, how do you do this? So, first off, whether it's a published adventure or something you're running, I'm going to kind of go at this at maybe you're going to do a published adventure. The first thing you need to do is you need to know this adventure inside and out. Well, the reason I say that is one of the biggest things with convention play is some players will gravitate naturally to certain aspects of the game, depending on what type of players you have. Whether they're role players or they're combat driven players. So, if you got a lot of story players, role players, method actors, they may really get into their characters and want to do a lot of role playing, which is going to eat up a lot of time if you have a lot going on. So you need to know what parts of the adventure you can skip and still successfully tell the story. So that's why you need to know your game inside and out. And because it's convention play, most likely you will not know what type of actual players you're going to have when the time comes. And you got to be able to just kind of wing it and run it. Some tips to get you going here. So, one is you have to be highly prepared to run this game. Know your game inside and out. Next thing, whenever possible, I strongly recommend you have a bunch of pre-generate characters. And let's say you can have up to 6 players at your table. Don't just bring 6 pre-generate characters and everyone just choose between those. You want to have a variety of characters available. If you got 10 players that are going to be playing, have like 10 different types of pre-gens available. And kind of spread it out amongst the different classes and races and whatnot, depending on the system that you're playing. But have pre-gens available. Because if you're going to try and have people roll up a character at a convention, most of the time that's going to eat up at least half an hour to most likely an hour. Just trying to teach people how to create a character. So I would just do a pre-gen. If you are able to, I would highly recommend bring pencils. Bring a couple extra sets of dice. If you're going to run miniatures, have miniatures ready to roll, set up, on the table. Everyone quickly picks them. And actually what I do is I'll take the pre-gens that I have I'll set them out and I'll put the miniature that corresponds with that character on the character sheet. So that way when they roll up to the table, they choose that one, they get their miniature, they get the character sheet, they can read through it real quick. They're unpacking their dice. Maybe have a couple extra sets of dice in case people forgot their dice, they lost them, or they haven't picked a set up yet. Maybe there's a passerby that's like, "Ooh, that looks really fun. I'd like to play," and they're completely new to D&D or a role playing game. What better way to welcome them? They have everything they need. Dice, pencil, all that. So have that ready to go. Make sure you're ready. You're set up when the players get there. And if you get there at the same time, make sure you are promptly setting everything up on the table. Get your DM screen in place, get your dice, get your pencil. I usually have a manila folder for the adventure I'm running with the map, and I will break down in bullet points, quick, easy to read, big print, the synopsis of the storyline. And so that way I can quickly read through it. If we're running out of time and there's like a extra road encounter, and we took too long here, because we want to get to the end and have a satisfactory ending, just cut out some of those filler areas. Some games rely on random encounters and wandering monsters, and I'd say you can use that still, but be prepared to nix or cut out wandering monsters if you need to get through the storyline. As far as like shopping, for the character, make sure their character already has equipment that they can use. When you're making pre-gens also, make sure the characters actually have sufficient adventuring gear. If they have magic items, make sure the magic items make sense. I've been in some games where you get magic items and you're like, I'm playing a fighter and I got this. It doesn't even fit. Don't do just a random magic generation. Actually spend time and make some cohesiveness if you're running a higher level adventure. So I would say no on, if they want to do shopping, because you want to get through the adventure. Time is of the essence. And I would use the time as a way to build tension. Okay, we got 4 hours. Your mission is in 4 hours, real time. You have to solve this adventure or the world explodes and everyone dies, or, it doesn't have to be that hokey, but you get what I'm getting at. Now, let's say you're doing a homebrew adventure, okay, instead of a published. So you're creating adventure. I would have 2 to 3 encounters roughly ready to go. Definitely, your main climatic battle or whatnot, a couple side battles, and make sure your adventure is going to hit all the different pillars of play. Make sure you got your aspects of exploration, possible puzzles, because you might have players that actually like puzzles at that table. You don't know until you're going through it. Make sure there's some cool lore in there, but you don't want to do a lore dump. But make sure it's available if you got a bunch of players that are really into that. Make sure combat is available if you've got butt kickers and power gamers that really enjoy the combat aspect of it. So make sure you got a little bit of everything as you're going through and you're creating an adventure. And I mean, if you're doing the pre-gens, what classes and races are going to be there. You might want to build in maybe little side quests for each one of those characters to kind of help drive the player through the plot and whatnot. So give them, a little personal quest to do. That also helps. And make sure you're building in ways to spotlight each one of those characters, those pre-gens that you have there. So that way everyone has an equal opportunity. Definitely, I would say don't be afraid to say no to certain things. If the players want to go in a completely random area that's going to take away from the game, you might want to say, no, obviously everyone wants to have fun, but you kind of got to herd the cats a little bit in a convention play. Although most players that go to conventions know that there's only a limited amount of time. So most of your gamers, you're going to have veteran gamers, you're going to have brand new gamers, but most of your gamers are going to understand. We only have so much time to get this done. Definitely also going back to your preparation when you first sat down, make sure you set the expectations of the table, the little synopsis that when you create the little thing on the convention you go to, they'll have like a little synopsis of what the little blurb for the players when they're looking at all the different games. Make sure you kind of list what it's about, the general synopsis, and what themes may or may not be in there. You want to set the expectations down, get them out of the way within the first few minutes of the game. Set those expectations, and definitely you don't want to start, a slow like role play. I would definitely do like an in media res, in action. If they're going to some keep up in the mountain, you don't want to start in town and slowly travel through to get to the keep. I would start them, bam, you're at the gate to the keep. This is your mission. This is, this is what the adventure is about. Set that right off the get-go. See what else we got here. Make sure you've got a clock or your phone nearby as a DM so you can keep a track, keep a look at the time. Make sure you're watching, and if things go long in one area, make sure you know that you're going to have to cut in some other areas. I would definitely just, make sure you got enough time for each encounter or battle. Definitely want to make sure you have enough time for the end, the battle, so you can wrap it up successfully. Also, very important as a DM at a convention, make sure you leave enough time at the end of the game to clean up, wrap up, and tidy up the space that you were at, so that way the next DM coming, they're not running late. That way they come, the table's clean, everything's put away, and you're out of their way, so they can set up, they can get going, so it doesn't prolong another person's experience and their setback on it. So that's common courtesy. I hope these tips help. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other comment or any other tips or suggestions on running games at a convention. Thank you, and happy gaming.